Hello, Chelsea fans. Welcome back to the Blues Report, and remember to subscribe, then enjoy your news. Let's dive in. Garnacho and Piero Hincapie. A new era at Chelsea. The summer of 2025 had been one of speculation, tension, and feverish anticipation for Chelsea supporters around the world. A club that had long thrived on moments of glory, but also endured cycles of uncertainty. Chelsea stood once again at the precipice of change. London had its fair share of transfer sagas, but none had been as dramatic as the dual arrivals of Alejandro Garnacho and Piero Hincapie. Two names that would redefine Chelsea's identity, blend youth with resilience, and inject into Stamford Bridge a vision of football that was as exhilarating as it was promising. For months leading up to their arrivals, murmurs travelled across football circles about Garnacho's discontent with his situation in Manchester and Hincapie's quiet desire to test himself at the very highest level of the Premier League. The Chelsea hierarchy, always alert to opportunities that combined talent with ambition, moved decisively. By mid-August, the announcements were official. Alejandro Garnacho, the Argentine winger whose fearless runs had terrorized defenses, and Piero Hincapie, Ecuador's commanding defender and Bundesliga stalwart, were Chelsea players. It was a turning point not just in recruitment, but in narrative. The arrival of Alejandro Garnacho. Alejandro Garnacho was no ordinary footballer. Born in Madrid, polished in Manchester, and carrying in his veins the relentless energy of Argentine football, he was a player who thrived on the edge of chaos. His pace was blistering, his dribbling electric, and his fearlessness unrivaled. Yet there was more to him than just flair. Behind the flamboyance lay a competitive fire, a hunger to prove himself as a mainstay in a team, not just an occasional spark. When the Chelsea faithful first saw him step onto the Cobham training ground in his blue kit, cameras whirred, journalists scribbled, and supporters leaned over barriers to catch a glimpse. Here was a player they had watched score dazzling goals for Manchester United, now draped in the colours of their rivals. For some it felt surreal, for most it was thrilling. Garnacho himself was determined. In interviews, he spoke of a new chapter, of wanting to grow into a leader in attack, and of his admiration for the legacy of wingers at Chelsea. Names like Arjen Robben, Damien Duff, and Eden Hazard. Hazard in particular was often mentioned, and Garnacho, with a knowing smile, said, "Hazard gave joy to Stamford Bridge. I want to do the same in my own way." The composure of Piero Hincapie. If Garnacho's arrival was marked by flashbulbs and adrenaline, Hincapie's was defined by calmness, composure, and quiet determination. The Ecuadorian defender had spent seasons honing his craft in the Bundesliga, where his versatility, pace, and defensive intelligence had made him indispensable. Left-footed and confident, he had the ability to slot into central defense or full-back roles, bringing tactical flexibility that Chelsea craved. For a club that had long sought defensive balance after years of transition, Hincapie felt like a solution written in steel and patience. His signing didn't just signal reinforcement. It symbolized Chelsea's intent to build a team where youthful energy met structural stability. At his unveiling, Hincapie stood humbly before reporters, his words measured but meaningful. "Chelsea is about ambition. I am here to defend this club with everything I have." The message resonated with the fans. Chelsea supporters had always admired defenders with heart. John Terry, Ricardo Carvalho, Branislav Ivanovic. They now had in Hincapie a player with the potential to carry that tradition forward, while shaping a new identity in a rapidly modernizing Premier League. Training at Cobham. The first days. The first joint training sessions after their arrivals were charged with intensity. Cobham buzzed with energy as Garnacho's unpredictability tested defenders, and Hincapie's discipline brought structure to the backline. Coaches noticed immediately how their personalities complemented each other. Garnacho was vocal, expressive, demanding the ball and looking to create at every opportunity. Hincapie, by contrast, was calm, observant, reading the game and organizing those around him with quiet authority. Teammates welcomed them warmly. Cole Palmer, whose rise had made him a fan favorite, found himself often combining with Garnacho in attack, the two youngsters pushing each other to levels of creativity rarely seen. In defensive drills, Hincapie partnered with Levi Colwill, the two forming a left-sided axis that seemed naturally aligned. The staff whispered about partnerships for the future, about chemistry that could blossom into something formidable. For supporters who sneaked peeks through fences or watched the training clips released online, excitement grew by the day. Garnacho's fearless dribbles, Hincapie's crunching interceptions. These weren't just signings, they were statements. The first match, Stamford Bridge under the lights. Their debut came in a much-anticipated fixture under the lights at Stamford Bridge. The stands were packed, the chants thunderous, and a sea of blue flags waved in unison. Garnacho started wide on the left, his hair streaked blonde, his eyes scanning the defense with mischief. Hincapie slotted into central defense, calm and collected. From the first whistle, Garnacho lit up the game. He darted past his marker with ease, drew fouls in dangerous positions, and whipped in crosses that sent shivers through the opposition backline. His sheer audacity, nutmegging defenders, cutting inside for curling shots, had the crowd on their feet. Each touch carried the weight of promise, each run whispered of hazard, but in Garnacho's own fearless style. Hincapie, meanwhile, was the quiet commander. He won aerial duels, intercepted dangerous passes, and even stepped into midfield with confidence, initiating attacks from deep. His reading of the game was impeccable, his discipline unshakable. When the opposition launched a counter-attack late in the first half, it was Hincapie who slid in with a perfectly timed challenge that drew roars of approval from the Matthew Harding stand. By full time, Chelsea had secured a convincing win, but the narrative was already written. Garnacho the spark, Hincapie the shield, two debutants who seemed destined for the stage they had just conquered. The impact beyond the pitch, beyond footballing ability, the arrivals of Garnacho and Hincapie shifted the atmosphere within Chelsea. The squad felt younger, hungrier, more determined to fight for every point. Their presence injected belief into teammates, while energizing fans who had long demanded ambition in the transfer market. Off the pitch, Garnacho's flair and social media presence made him an instant fan icon, his training clips going viral, his celebrations imitated by young supporters. Hincapie, though quieter, became a symbol of professionalism, admired by young academy players who saw in him the values of hard work and consistency. The duo also bonded quickly with the South American contingent at the club, forming friendships that helped them settle. Enzo Fernandez, another Argentine, became a mentor figure for Garnacho, while Moises Caicedo shared cultural roots with Hincapie, easing his transition into the Premier League environment. A symbol of Chelsea's future. As the season progressed, the influence of Garnacho and Hincapie deepened. Garnacho's goals and assists thrilled fans, his confidence growing with every game. Hincapie's defensive leadership provided the stability Chelsea had craved, his adaptability making him indispensable in multiple systems. Journalists began to speak of Chelsea's South American revolution, a generation of players bringing flair, resilience, and hunger to the bridge. The board's decision to invest in youth with proven quality suddenly looked visionary. For supporters, the sense of identity was returning. Stamford Bridge, once a fortress, began to feel like one again. The chants grew louder, the flags waved prouder, and the blue shirts on the pitch carried an energy that resonated with history and hope alike. Conclusion: the dawn of a new era. The story of Alejandro Garnacho and Piero Hincapie at Chelsea is more than a tale of two transfers. It is the story of ambition meeting opportunity, of a club daring to embrace boldness while respecting tradition. In Garnacho, Chelsea found the fire of attack, a player unafraid to take risks, to create magic, and to ignite crowds. In Hincapie, they discovered the calm strength of defense, a guardian of stability and resilience. Together, they represent balance, the chaos and the calm, the daring and the discipline. As Chelsea marched forward in the 2025-26 season, fans knew that they weren't just witnessing new signings, but the birth of an era. And so, beneath the bright floodlights of Stamford Bridge, with blue shirts clinging to their backs and chants echoing through the London night, Garnacho and Hincapie became not just players, but symbols of a Chelsea reborn.